Hope everybody had a wonderful Shabbos. We are in the laws of idolatry, and we started these laws last month of Shabbos, and now we are going in detail into the different methods of idol worship, and it's important to know as to what is considered to be idolatry and what is considered to be forbidden to have any type of benefit from, and things that are permitted to use. So I'm going to share my screen here we're going to go to chapter 8 of Maimonides. Wrong one. Let's get the right screen here. Okay. Chapter 8. Everybody can see the screen, correct?
Yes, Rabbi.
If you can't see the Rambam that we're doing together. So chapter 8 is going to be talking about things that are natural. For example, mountains, trees. Can they become idolatry? Can they become actually forbidden, like an idol? Or since they are God-made, they cannot become forbidden. So the halacha 1 starts off, anything that has not been manipulated by man, and man did not make it, even though it was served. We know idolatry, anything that has to do with idolatry is not only forbidden, but forbidden to even benefit from it. So these things would be permitted to benefit from because they have not been considered to be idolatry because they're not manipulated by man. Therefore, idolaters that serve mountains like boys, or trees that were planted initially for fruit, or springs that are there for the public, and animals. If these were served, you are allowed to derive benefit from, and you're allowed to eat them. Those paytas, those fruits, you could eat the animal, you could eat the fruit, you can have benefit from the mountain. That means having benefit means that you could plant on that mountain, you could walk around on that mountain. Needless to say that a behema, a animal that was only set aside for idolatry but was actually never worshipped, is of course also permitted. Even if it was worshipped, it would be permitted. But when do we say an animal does not become forbidden? That's only if they did not do any type of action. Again, it couldn't be manipulated by man. If they did any type of action with the animal, then it is now forbidden, even though man didn't create the animal. For example, if it was slaughtered, even one of its two pipes, either the windpipe or the food pipe, or if he made it an exchange for idolatry, it is now considered to be forbidden because there's an action done in the animal itself. And even an exchange of an exchange. So for example, someone had a cow and someone had an idol, and I said, hey, I want to buy that idol for you. How much does it cost? You know what, let me give you my cow. You'll have my cow, I'll get the idol. That cow, which was exchanged for an idol, now becomes forbidden to derive any type of benefit because it became an exchange of an idol. So there's an action done with the animal. It's not just like going to a regular animal and just bowing down to it where it doesn't become forbidden. And because it becomes money of idolatry. This is talking about if he owns it. But what if he goes and slaughters, does an action, which makes it forbidden, but it's his friend's animal. He doesn't own it. Or he exchanged it for an idol, his friend's animal for an idol. There's a rule in halacha that a person cannot make something that is not his forbidden. That's if he didn't make it, he didn't change it to the fact of not making it kosher. I mean, if someone killed his friend's animal in an improper way, it will be not kosher if it wasn't slaughtered properly, even though it's not his. But here we're talking about idolatry, which is something more spiritual. He cannot make it an idol if he doesn't own it. Someone who bows to the earth has not made the earth forbidden. In other words, you could still plant food in it. But if you dug wells or ditches or caves for the sake of idolatry, then it is forbidden. Because even though it's the earth, he has done now an action. So anything that he has done an action with now makes it forbidden. Now we're going to talk about water. What if he serves water that has been going on in a wave? A wave brings a whole wave. He's at the ocean and there's a wave of water. And he bows down to that wave. He has not made that wave of water forbidden. They told him biyavle, but if he took a little bit of water in his hand, and he bowed down to that, that's asaran. He made it forbidden. That water that he's holding. Stones, rocks that have fell off a mountain, and he served them in the place where they fell, mutares, they are still permitted, because no man was there it wasn't manipulated by man. The water, when the case where he holds it, was manipulated by man. He has done an action with picking up that water, and therefore it is controlled by him, and therefore becomes forbidden. So anything that has been manipulated by him becomes forbidden as idolatry, but if not, he cannot make it forbidden. Halacha number 3. If a Jew stands a brick up with the intention of bowing down to this brick, but actually didn't end up bowing down to it, and now a idolater came and bowed down to it, he has made it forbidden in benefits, to derive benefit from, even though he doesn't own that rock that he says because a Jew, by putting it up, is already considered an action. Yet even though he didn't complete the action, he is already initiating the idolatry, and therefore it is considered he is then forbidden to derive any benefit from it. Same thing if he set up a egg, and an idolater came and bowed down to it. Asara, he made it forbidden, even though it's not owned by the idolater. If he cuts like a twig from a tree, a part of the tree, and then he bows down to it. Asara, he has made it forbidden. What happens if he cuts off a branch and bows only to half of the branch? Again, these are funny scenarios, and we discussed this. We discussed this last week. We've discussed in other classes of how the history of idolatry and how it got to this, and some of the some of the stupidity involved, some of the wisdom that they would put inside as well. So if he bowed to half a branch, but the other half is attached to it, the whole entire branch, even the other half that he was not serving, becomes forbidden. Shema, as a doubt, maybe the other half is like a handle to what is being served. And if it's a handle, it's serving the idol, and anything that serves the idol is forbidden. Now, we talked about trees before don't become forbidden to derive benefit from because they're not manipulated by man. But if he planted it with the initial intention of it being used for idolatry, then it is asr bahana, it is forbidden to derive any type of benefit. This is the Asheda tree, which we find in the Torah many times. It says don't derive any benefit from the Asheda. Asheda is a tree that was planted for idolatry. But if there was already a planted tree, but he pruned it and carved it for the sake of idolatry. Even if he actually he grafted the tree, and it brought out new branches. The new branches are forbidden to derive any benefit, but the rest of the tree is permitted. So even if he did an action with the tree, if it was after it was initially planted for permitted usage, then it does not become forbidden. And same to someone who bows to a tree even though the whole body of the tree, the whole tree does not become forbidden. All the fruit and branches that will be growing as he is bowing and serving it are considered to be usher, forbidden, to derive benefits. A tree that the idolaters were guarding the fruit. They said these fruits are special. We're going to make special beverages for the idolater, the house of worship. When they drink it on the day of their holiday. This tree is also forbidden. The entire tree is forbidden to derive any type of benefit. That means any wood, I can't even take a piece of that tree and light it on fire to warm me up or to cook something, because I cannot have any type of benefit from it. Because such a tree is probably considered an asheda. This is what they did with these asheda trees, with these trees they would plant for idolatry. Many times they would have the fruits also be used for the idolater. So the fact that they're using these fruits for beverages for idolatry is a proof that this whole tree is an asheda. Ilon shemamidin tachtav avodas kechavim. A tree that they don't necessarily serve the tree, but they have an idol in its shade, and it's under the tree. As long as it is under the tree is forbidden to derive any type of benefit. The talami tachtav hareza mutter. But once you take it, it becomes permitted. Whenever, because the tree itself is not the one that's being served, but rather it is serving as like a house of idolatry. And if it's a house of idolatry, as long as idolatry is in the house, I cannot have any type of benefit from that house. Now a literal house, before we talked about the tree, now a literal house that he built for the sake of idolatry, that the house itself should be served, and so too someone who bows to a already built house, this is considered, this is a forbidden to derive any type of benefit. If it was built, the sidoi v'kidoi l'shem avodas kechavim, and he plastered it and he carved images in it for the sake of idolatry. Actions chadesh until he innovated some type of new design in the house. He has to destroy whatever he innovated. And innovation is then whatever carvings, whatever things he innovated is forbidden to derive any type of benefit. Because he made it to serve. Mutter. But the rest of the house is permitted, because the rest of the house was not made originally to serve. If he brought idolatry into the house, as long as idolatry is in the house, that house is forbidden to derive any type of benefit. If he takes it out, once he takes it out, the house is now permitted. He could walk inside, he could shelter there from the rain, he could sleep there, but if the idolatry is in the house, he cannot be there. So to a stone that was cut and welded and cut out and carved out initially to serve, it is forbidden to have any type of benefit. If he designed it to serve it, even if he did so in the actual stone, he carved and engraved in the stone. He could take what he designed, he takes whatever he innovated, like in the house, and that itself is those designs are forbidden to have any benefit, but the rest of the stone is permitted. So if he engraved in it, he has to take that whole engraving out and do make sure that it's not there. And that engraving is that part of the stone is forbidden to have any type of benefit, but the rest of the stone is fine. Halacha number 5. Evan shehem elav etzkechavim, a stone on which an idol is placed. The stone is considered to be a house for that idol, and therefore it is forbidden as long as the idol stands on it. Sulka ha'evan muteres. But if he took it away, the stone becomes permitted. If someone's house was near idolatry of nafal, and it fell down. So he has, it's like if you imagine the ghettos or like townhouses where one wall is shared by two houses. So his house was shared with a house of idolatry. So if his house falls down, he cannot build it because then he'll be building a wall for this idolatry house. So what should he do? He should kind of move his house inwards a little bit, so lose a foot or something. And the place, the place that he now has emptied in between him and this house of idolatry, he should fill it up with kaitzim, with soya, with pricklies and thorns or excrement. They shouldn't be giving extra space to the idolatry. They'll say, "Oh, now we got another foot of space." If the wall was owned by both of them, he could say 50% is mine, and if I can have benefit from it, but whatever part is of the idolater is forbidden to derive any benefit. So in those days, when a wall fell down, if it was stone, especially, they would reuse those stones. Stones are expensive. They didn't just dispose of it. So if half of the wall belonged to the idolaters, then you would have to have those stones and the earth would be totally forbidden to derive any benefit. You would have to throw it away. How does one destroy a false deity, a idol, or anything that is forbidden on its account? For example, it's things serving it, accessories, or it's offerings that you bring it. Some they would bring different offerings. They would bring wine, flour, oil. Now you can't derive any benefit from it. So what do? Either you scatter it, you grind and scatter it in the wind, or you burn it and you bring the ashes to the Dead Sea, because the ashes itself is also forbidden to derive any benefit. Ashes could be good fertilizer or whatever it serves, but since it comes from idolatry, you gotta get rid of everything. Something that does not have it can't be manipulated by man, that was served. For example, like we spoke about in the first halacha, harim, behema, mountains, animals, even though the thing itself, the mountain itself, in this case, would be permitted to have benefit. Its drapings and and whatever its coatings is forbidden to derive benefit. If you have even a drop of benefit from it, you are liable to lashes. Do not desire the gold and silver which is on them. In other words, not the idol itself, but the gold and silver that might be the jewelry that they brought to design it or to drape the coating for it. Any coating of an idol, of a false deity, is considered to be one of its accessories. Halacha number ches. A false deity of idolaters that they abolished it and they nullified it. So before it got to the hands of a Jewish person, he could derive benefit from it. It says those you must burn the statues of their God on fire. When do you have to burn it? When it's Elokehem, when it's their God. But if it's not their God, because they nullified it, then it's permitted to use it. Therefore, if they have, let's say there's this gold idol, and they nullified it, and we'll discuss in the next halachas how you nullify an idol, then you couldn't derive any benefit from that gold. It's not considered to be an idol anymore. However, a false deity belonging to a Jew can never be nullified. Once it's forbidden, it's always forbidden. Even if a non-Jew, a idolater that's a non-Jew, had a partnership in it, he cannot nullify this idol. It is forbidden to derive benefit forever. You have to entome it and put it away. There's there's commentaries that discuss why idolatry of a Jew do you entome but not burn it and get rid of it, like we talked about before. But the point is that you have to get rid of it. You can't derive benefit from it. Same to a idol, a false deity of a idolater, supposed to when it got to the hands of a Jew, and then the non-Jew nullified it. The nullification doesn't work anymore because it already reached the hand of a Jew, and once it reached the hand of a Jew as an idol, it is forbidden forever. A Jew can never nullify a false deity, even if a idolater gives him permission to. Only a non-Jew could nullify a idol. If it's a minor or a foolish, or someone who's incompetent, cannot and idolater cannot nullify this idol. If idolater was forced to nullify his idol, his false deity, even if he was forced to by a Jewish person, it is considered nullified. As long as the person is actually someone who's idolater. Someone who's not an idolater, even if they're not Jewish, they cannot nullify this idol because it has to be someone who serves it to nullify it. Someone who nullifies the false deity also thereby nullifies all its accessories. But on the other hand, if he did vice versa, he nullified its drapings and its accessories, but not the actual idol. He nullified the accessories. The accessories are permitted, but the false deity is still considered to be until he nullifies it. The offerings that one brings to idolater can never be nullified. So those things that they bring as an offering are always forbidden. Now we'll discuss how do you nullify, what does that entail? How do you nullify this? If he cut off, he chipped the nose or the ear or the finger, the top of a finger, or he smooths out its face, even though he didn't, even though none of its substance was destroyed, that is considered nullifying it. So it doesn't take much, as long as he just basically does some type of action, thereby proving this is no longer his God. Because someone would chop off their God's ear. But if he gave as collateral security, or as he sold it to a idolater, or sold it to a Jew who is not a jeweler, and left after was covered by fallen articles without removing them. If he sold it to the robber stole it, bandit stole it, and he never requested it back. If he spit in its face, he even urinated upon it. He dragged it. Even if he did these things where he threw feces on it, it is not considered nullified. Just by shaming it is not nullifying it. You have to actually do an action of actually breaking a part of it. That's how you nullify it. Halacha Yud Aleph. If idolaters left their idolatry when it was peaceful, it was good times for them, it is permitted to have benefit from it because they nullified it. But if it was by battle they abandoned it, then it is not considered to be permitted because they never really abandoned it, or just because of the war they abandoned it. But when they did it throughout peace, then there's no other reason why they abandoned their idol, only because they don't believe in it anymore and they nullified it. And therefore it's permitted. If a false deity broke on its own, its pieces are forbidden to have any type of benefit until they actually nullify it. If someone finds a broken false deity, he cannot have any type of benefit for any of those pieces because maybe they never nullified it, even though it's broken in pieces. Maybe it broke by itself. If it was one of those pre-made things, or one of those things that are made into pieces, like IKEA style, where you buy a whole bunch of pieces and put it together, They have to nullify each piece because it's not one body, but it's pieces that come together. If it's not easy to put it back together, once you nullify one piece, then it nullifies all the pieces and the whole entire thing. So if it's easy to put together by putting all the various pieces together, just by taking one piece out, doesn't make all the pieces nullified. But if it's hard to put together, and once you take one piece out and nullify it, it nullifies everything. Halacha number 12, Mizbeach Avodas Nifgam, a altar of an idolater that was damaged. It is still considered to be forbidden to derive benefit until you break most of it in the hands of idolater. On the other hand, a bimois, and he's going to explain, a bimois is one stone that was an altar, and a mizbeach, and the mizbeach type of altar was many stones. So if the bimois, which is one stone, was damaged, then it's mutter. Now he's explaining. Ezu bimois, ezu mizbeach. Bimois have an achas. Bimois is one stone. Mizbeach avonim harbe. An altar mizbeach, what we call mizbeach, is made up of many stones. We talked about in earlier chapters. There was a certain idol that was called Markulis, and the way they would serve it would be to throw stones at it. And we learned about it in the previous chapter that if someone wants to shame it and throws a stone at it, he's actually serving it, because that's how they would serve it. So Kemet Shabbanim and Binyan. So how do you, if you want to nullify the stones which were brought to the Markulis, once you build something with it, then they are permitted to derive benefit. How do you nullify the Asherah tree, which is a tree that was planted initially to serve the idol? If he carves out, he cuts off a branch of it, or he throws away one of its new buds, or he starts he smooths it out, not for the sake of the tree, for the help of the tree, but rather just to destroy it. No, he has to do some type of action of showing his nullification that will actually nullify it. If he smooths it out, then if he smooths out and for shval, if he smooths out for its sake, then it is still forbidden because he's not doing it to nullify it. But it's the shavings are forbidden. The shavings are permitted. If it belonged to a Jew, everything, even the shavings, are forbidden forever. Because, as we said before, idolatry, a false deity of a Jew, can never be nullified. With that, we conclude chapter number 8.